It's a beautiful day, and BLG are going to be just fine if they manage to close out Game 2 and take the series.
You were asking for it.
I was, and I'm glad that you followed up on that. Thank you so much. So let's talk about the series now. FPX versus BLG. This Game 2 is coming at you because FPX, that draft, yeah, Frost went in. Look, it had a strategy, it had a plan, and I know that you and I will probably disagree about this later because the order in which they did it was disrespectful and they ended up getting punished as a result. Though they clearly had a plan in mind, execution on the plan, not great.
Like, everyone's going to have their own debates.
Yeah.
All I know is Coach Achani in the back saying, here's this great LCK composition. You don't even need one engage point if you guys have the lead.
Yeah.
Now let me sell it to you. So that's probably how you went about it, exactly with those voices. That being said,
in English as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
He's fluent. FPX and BLG are teams that right now are struggling when it comes to signing those fights, clean fights, and clean setups. While the setup was getting better for FPX, listen to Mama Frost and get at least one engagement.
Well, now FPX find themselves on the red side, and they've got to start banning some things away from BLG. And wait, that advice was recommended for FPX, not BLG.
Oh, you don't even need to tell BLG. They had Alistar last game. They're just saying, we will deny it from Crisp and pick the Rakan. Now you have to take the Xayah. With who now? Not with the other lover. That's who. Hello?
Hello? Hi?
I'm just
Hello
laying
there.
it
Yeah,
down.
You're just
this is
going
the conversation happening.
Yeah, there it is. Rakan locked in. And Nocturne for Alex. Okay, that's an engage tool.
One thing to take a look at, of course, LWX, a player that loves Xayah, but is great into picking against it. This is probably a game where LWX calls for second phase AD carry, and he's gone towards a lot of, actually, probably the Kalista, the Vayne pick. We'll have to see if Xayah's picked up from BLG, because why not? That is an incredible lovers duo, empowers Rakan as well with the extended range, so you have so much disengaged threat. So right now, if you're BLG, pick up the Xayah and Rakan duo. Looks like the frontliner is being decided here as well.
Sejuani for some even more follow-up and engage. Rakan no flash, Sejuani no problem. Glacial Storm and a Yasuo for a Wombo setup out of BLG. All right, I like it.
I'm just surprised they did not want the Xayah here.
I mean, they're perhaps wasting one of FPX's bans later on, which does leave more champions open for Amazing J.
Yeah, fair. BLG now, it seems like, remember early on in the split, the discussion they had that they made public was that they wanted Jin Zhao just to play the AD carries because they value the later game stages of it.
The fact that he picked Swain in Game 1 proves that that is a lie.
And well, it's not a lie. It's week 7, and they've been having a lot of losses, so they had to change their tune real quick.
Yeah.
They're, as a team, realizing they need Jin Zhao to play more than just 80 carries. Funny enough, at a proper timing where ADs are decent enough right now. You could pick Xayah here, but you're right, should get banned out in second phase.
I mean, we'll see if FPX, maybe they don't want to waste a ban on it. Maybe they want to try to pick it up themselves and look for their own strong bottom lane, as they've already got that Shen to set up for a lot of mobility to follow up on the submarine composition from Alex. I suppose it's not really a submarine, it's more a warship.
Yep.
Just ramming in. As Vladimir will also be banned away from Jin Zhao, as BLG were the ones to ban away Gangplank. So we are seeing some mages taken away. Orianna still a possibility for both teams if they want to take that into the bottom lane.
The Ornn is probably their best ban in the second phase, recognizing that BLG, while the Yasuo can go a lot of lanes, they know for certain Ornn would just empower the Yasuo so much so in these team fights that they would have to worry about the flank that he would have, and the terrain battles that they've been having is way too much threat alone, but then add in the Yasuo ulti to follow up on it. BLG are going to be searching for something that isn't just the Rakan to empower the Yasuo pick later on.
Yeah, well, BLG have been doing a great job using the terrain effectively against FPX in these fights. Will they be able to do that again in this Game 2, as they were effectively forcing FPX around the map with that Gangplank from Game 1? But now Lucian is the pickup for LWX. He does have that Relentless Pursuit, not quite the blink of an Ezreal, but he's going to have to step up for some big damage if he wants to follow up on BLG.
A much more aggressive pick. Remember, he's blind picking here.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what AD carry he's dealing with, but he has to, in the back of his head, expect that it could be up against the Xayah. So he wants a proper matchup with the Xayah, so it can't be anything too passive early on. So his response, his solution was the Lucian. One thing to remember is that it's great for trading. you trade with the Lucian along with the Shen if it goes bottom lane. But then for BLG, they can say, well, we'll just pick a shoving lane. Orianna was hovered just a little bit. If you have Orianna bottom lane, not only is it a proper setup for Yasuo later on in the game, but you have such great pushing with the Rakan. Rakan may not help too much, but Orianna, she only needs herself.
And that is going to Amazing J. Blind picked in the top lane as FPX are saving their last pick red side for Gimgoon, even the Fiora ban away. And there's that Xayah that you were talking about for Jin Zhao in the bottom lane. Now LWX very familiar with that champion in that matchup, but Gimgoon picking up Jax.
I love it. I mean, we've been seeing Shen supports for so long, but then nothing happening on the top side of the map. Why not pick something? Why not go ballsy? The AD carries, I mean, assassins in the top lane. This time around, it's the Bruiser and Jax. He can dive a little bit more aggressively. Great matchup, skill matchup into the Camille. He can play it passively. One thing to recognize here in this matchup, we'll talk about it when we get to see a little bit more. Counter-Strike is so threatening for the Camille. Always wants to find an opening with her hookshot combination, but if she ever opens up with hookshot, you get the Counter-Strike. Post level 6, it's a lot of damage Jax deals back.
Yeah.
So that's the idea of the matchup. Jax should scale very well here as well.
Also, he's got some pretty strong engage if he's able to use that Counter-Strike stun to set up for his team, not to mention the follow-up of a Shen and that Nocturne Paranoia. So there are opportunities for FPX to go forward in this composition, but they will have to move in a unified manner to do so. That's what they struggled with in Game 1. Have they learned their lesson here in this Game 2 with the composition that they're bringing to bear against a pretty strong comp out of BLG on the far side? Xayah Rakan is no small thing to try to walk forward into.
Yeah, so already from the bottom lane, the short range of Lucian, you could counter that and say, well, Xayah has short range. Not really when you have feathers out and about. So that's the threat of Xayah in early laning phase, is the fact that while she is short range, she doesn't feel like she has short range. Her range, her effective range, her threat is rather large. She only needs 3 to stun you down. A little bit more 5 feathers to actually land some really strong chunk in damage.
Yeah.
So that's something that Lucian has to deal with. Remember, he's going to be coming this with press the attack, very likely. So it's going to be interesting to see how the trades go about in the bottom lane. LWX, especially when he's on Lucian, wants to go in.
Yeah, the skill matchup. Can LWX bring down Jin Zhao in that bottom lane? He will have the assistance of that Shen, and again, there's a lot of threat from a Nocturne or Zoe joining the fight if they manage to get pressure in that mid lane. Well, we're about to load onto the Rift Res.
You're saying that he's going to be getting help, or at least Lucian is going to have help from Shen. I feel like Shen is going to be everywhere else except for the bottom lane. This man will not have help. We're going to have timer for him.
Well, the classic. But that said, we've loaded onto the Rift. Time to hear from the crowd on FPX versus Bilibili Gaming. Now we've made our way onto the Rift.
Best dance in the game.
The Zoe dance.
Yep, 100%.
There are a couple of good ones.
Best.
Olaf is still one of my favorites.
That's pretty good.
Techno Viking. That's a classic.
It's just silly.
Exactly, that's the point. But no, this time we're just going to be seeing some standard setups, defensive lines across the map so far as everyone dances and makes their way around. Looks like red start from both of our junglers.
Yeah, nothing really standing out in level 1s. Counter-Strikes 1, Shen taunts another, so FPX could make the decision to jump in. Remember, up against Sejuani Yasuo no less, so that's a melee assistance that you can get a stun off of. Doesn't sound too good, so you can just see them fanning out for that reason.
You can see Mole very carefully trying to control the wave against this Zoe. He's trying to catch the minions as they come in, but Cool with that Paddle Star, as expected, taking that early lane control. That is going to be a bit of a tricky matchup, though. Windwall should be able to absorb most of those abilities. Road will trade back for some damage against FPX. LWX.
He's trying to see what Road has level 1, either his W or force him to rank up his E. So if he ranks up his E, has no pressure in lane, you can walk up a lot more aggressively. He didn't do anything off of that, so actually really good from Road to keep his cool. Don't show your cards.
And again, just playing that knowledge game as Amazing J is going to start pushing minions into Gimgoon. Jax, not exactly known for his level 1. Those level 18 is one of the strongest in the game. needs some time to reach that point, though. Will he be able to get that time?
Time and assistance is a good trade back, but remember he can't go a little bit too far out. While this lane starts pushing out a little bit, it just depends if Amazing J wants to continuously push it in. He'll have the backing of Chieftain, and that's what's important here, is that Jax is going to be farming under tower for quite some time, needs to farm effectively, can't lose CS in this sense, and know that Alex is going to be bot side for a good majority of all of this.
Look at this, Chieftain's actually stepping up. Wind wall used very early, flash over the wall, and that is going to help Mole out quite a bit just by Chieftain walking into lane.
Yeah, just really strong from Mole there too to set up Chieftain. Really just put Cool up against the wall so there was no way for Cool to not get knocked up. If he gets knocked up, great follow-up from Chieftain as well with Flash. So it made sense for Cool to flash immediately so he keeps his HP and stays in lane.
And now blue buff being picked up by Chieftain. Off of the back of that, Cool will have to stay calm and try to control the lane because, again, we're expecting Alex to just go very hard on the farm to reach level 6 as quick as he can.
Which is why I want to see what happens around Krugs, because you can see Alex pathing towards it. Chieftain, I wonder if he bases off of Gromp or goes topside to support Amazing J a little bit more. Usually blue side junglers will head up towards the Krugs because it will be supported by their own top laner. And of course they can try and thieve some experience away. Not going to be the case here as Sejuani does base.
Just going for the recall instead. We just saw the masteries for Amazing J, taking lots of sustain, the Time Warp Tonic and Biscuit Delivery, along with Scorch and Arcane Comet. And we just saw the interaction as to why that's so strong. Tactical sweep for the slow, and then an immediate Arcane Comet landing on cooldown.
Yeah,
really makes the lane tough.
With how much corrupting potions we've been seeing as of late, makes a lot more sense to start moving towards the Time Warp Tonic. Give you the extra bit of sustain, gives you so much value in your corrupting potion so he can stick in the top lane a little bit longer. A lot of efficiency. So of course Gimgoon going into this lane isn't going to be going, he answers with his own corrupting potions, makes a lot of sense. So it should be a rather passive lane for both of them, respectful of jungle pressure and respectful of the fact that they just go in, going to be taking damage from corrupting potions, and it's a lot of sustain.
LWX forced to flash away. I mean, you mentioned Crisp leaving the lane, but I don't think part of that plan included LWX getting caught over a wall.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what LWX is doing there. I understand that the positioning of the wave is rough, but you don't have the answer to it alone. You need Shen there. Shen wasn't in the area, so no reason to go in for it. Probably misread where Road was at the time, coming over the wall.
That was the Blade Caller from Jin Zhao landing the snare and forcing LWX to flash dash away from Road's grand entrance.
And take a look at this. So Alex getting completely pushed out of bottom lane while at the same time LWX not having his summoner spells available to him. Anything else happens bot lane, that's a heavy punishment from BLG. They can actually move towards chunking down the tower a little bit more, even taking the Earth Dragon. So at this point in time, Alex doesn't want to make any dire moves. LWX doesn't want to make any more mistakes because they could pay heavily for it.
Yeah, Alex still level 4. He just ticked over to level 5, trying to keep pace with that Sejuani, and he's pinging down towards the bottom side right now, over the wall.
Let's go.
There's no ward here. Road is the target. Shadow Dash misses, but he still sidesteps 1, 2. The slow will land along with the fear, and look at the damage that LWX does. Vamp Scepter is able to chase it down. First blood to LWX.
No max distance dash for Road. He actually misplayed that quite heavily. Kind of panicked to see how Shen played that out. Shen missed his taunt, but didn't matter at the end because the fear just paid off. So really good. Well done from FPX at the very least to get the kill on, I guess, even if it was misplayed initially.
And now what was a risky lane is going to feel a lot better, as Jin Zhao is the one who doesn't have Flash and Cleanse. Not going to do too much when Lucian is just able to get auto attacks, though it will help him escape from Crisp on the far side. Another gank into the mid lane. Cool, still no Flash. And no level 6 out of Chieftain either, so that's no Glacial Storm for the immediate lockup follow-up from Mole.
And you can tell how chill Chieftain is at this point. He doesn't have to worry about a damn thing. Jin Zhao and Road are doing really well in lane, while at the same time Amazing J, the amount of chip damage he has in that top lane turret is astronomical. So Alex is the one who's sweating. He has level 6 available to him, so he wants to pick a lane, but what does he pick? Bottom lane seems obvious because there's a follow-up of Shen, but you look top lane, and it almost seems as though Gimgoon needs your help now, or he loses that tower.
Oh no, he's stepping into the river again, but Jin Zhao is the target. He's not level 6, that's the spell shield. An early cleanse, but Crisp with the flash gets the kill with Shadow Dash. Spirit's Refuge tanks a hit, and the dive is bottom.
Well done, strong timing. Jin Zhao, even though he used his cleanse, didn't have his ultimate, level 5, so just made it so it was a good time to get the kill.
And that's LWX getting another assist, Crisp getting himself a kill and an assist, and Alex walking away 2-0. Now, Amazing J is actually getting a lot of hits here. That's the Grandmaster's Might from Gimgoon. Oh, that's a big one. The Empowered Strike.
Just means that Amazing J cannot stay underneath the tower. Even if he has a few more Corrupting Potions, he doesn't. So this is a risky gambit. Doesn't have his passive, used it when running away from Jax. He's only taking it now knowing that Jax is clearing out the ward.
Now there is also no teleport for Amazing J, so Gimgoon starting to scale back up. What calm play to know that I will be able to trade back against this Camille eventually. Not yet, but eventually.
We talked about the post 6 damage Jax can do.
Yeah.
Just needs the passive available to himself, so if he ever gets a really good counter-strike in which Camille can't respond, that's a lot of damage.
Road is looking real disrespectful down here. That's actually the grand entrance Blade Caller. Ooh, and another one. Gleaming Quill onto Crisp.
There we go. I mean, that's what you tend to expect out of Xayah. A lot of her damage comes at the back half of the fight. When she throws enough feathers, you feel like you're winning it out. Crisp was feeling that, and then he realizes he was feeling something else. That's a lot of feathers sticking out of his back.
That snare locking him in place and allowing Road to follow up. Finally, level 6 ticked over to by Jin Zhao. Road still chasing his own down. Luckily, no Ignite was used by Road to try and force that kill out. I think even he was surprised by the Gleaming Quill damage at the end, but again, that bottom lane just keeps on pushing in, though it is now a 15 CS lead for LWX.
Seems like BLG are trying to take everything, though. While you're talking about the bottom lane advantages being created by Road and Jin Zhao, they might have to face the fear of Alex. But you can see that Mole is starting to clear vision topside. Sejuani was starting to place vision topside to support Amazing J. So they're trying to strike heavy, strike quickly, where not only are Road and Jin Zhao passively winning, but they can make a play on top of Jax and take the tower. That would mean a lot to them.
And now they're looking towards mid lane as Chieftain is farming out his Krugs. That dive is set up. Paranoia stand united as Crisp is level 6. Mole still sitting on that cleanse too, just in case he gets caught by any CC. But that side of the jungle is completely dark. You can see Chieftain has finished off his Krugs and is now thinking about the next step.
Oh, here we go, actually just flipping it over his head, going towards the bottom lane. Strong control ward, but they need this wave pushed out.
Jin Zhao starting to take that wave. Push it back, LWX and Chris playing so patient. Alex is going to try hanging out on this side of the map as well, but there is a control ward in Tribush that will spot him if he steps up. There's the Paranoia. That's the dive, but the counter gank is ready. Already the Glacial Slam, and they managed to get the shutdown and the knock up onto Crisp. Shadow Dash for safety, and they're chasing it down for another, but Cool has joined the fight. He's managed to kill Road. Chieftain looking to go golden, but the perfect timing for Crisp resets it. Amazing J joins in. Gimgoon just trades teleport for teleport.
You can see how strong specifically Cool was to start off the fight, because it was a BLG that was setting up for it. They were confident dealing with it. Mold takes a long time to join up. That was what was crucial, because Cool just joining up was able to clean up. So 1-0-1, well done from Cool to join Alex in that gambit.
And that's the difference between the Yasuo and the Zoe. Yasuo needs a little bit of time to step through and clear out that minion wave, whereas Zoe, she can just fire that paddle star from a distance, one-shot those caster creeps, clear up the rest, and walk away.
And it's funny because Chieftain expected that. He knew that Mole was going to take some time to join. Nice dodge. And they were just hoping that they would be able to take that one kill on Alex and just head on up out of there. It was just unfortunate that the follow-up was so dire, so quick. We'll see in this replay.
Yeah, that's the Paranoia starting things off.
Boom. They get the kill on towards him, but then they move up a little bit further. That's where the fear comes in, because while they try and take more on towards Crisp, of course Cool comes and rejoin. In fact, I feel like BLG would have just gotten an outright advantage had they just taken that one kill and got out of there.
I think we also need to talk about the lack of vision on the bottom side of the map from BLG for that play. That Mole had to take the long route down into that bottom lane on the Yasuo because Alex and Chris were stepping up to feign a gank mid, set up that vision, and enable the later rotation. Though we do see BLG take the Rift Herald.
Yeah, issue here is they had that information available. They just needed to make proper decisions off that back. Mole knows that Zoe's going to join in. Sejuani knows that Nocturne is going to look for that gank. That's why she was baiting for it. information was there. They were just feeling hypey at the time. That being said, here's the response up in the top.
Yeah, the trade-off. Amazing Jay looking for Gimgoon. He's going to step up, but Rift Herald will get a full charge onto the turret. That's the stand united. Can they kill Gimgoon before he gets in there? Crisp joins in. Two-man Shadow Dash. Amazing Jay will die. Gimgoon trades it back over. Knock-up does not land onto Crisp, but Shelly has been distracted. Meanwhile, the dive bottom was called off by Alex and Cool. They decided not to go for it. And Jin Zhao and Road were able to hold that bottom tier 1.
Yeah, they started leaning topside too, so you could see that Yasuo didn't want to continue to push forward with the Rift Herald. So smart decision from BLG as a whole. Take the fight. Unfortunate that Amazing J had to die in all of it, but at the end of the day, they got the tower, got the push, and now defended mid.
Oh, Road, you're walking up in a bad spot. Gets hit by the dragon, but that just means Alex can turn and engage onto it. Now, quickness engage is still an option for Road if he wants to try to go back in, but his jungle is on the other side of the map, and FPX find Road out of position and immediately punish him. This is a completely different game from BLG. They have no control of the bottom side river, and when they try to take control, they get punished and lose a dragon because of it.
At the very least, early game points that FPX had from game 1 carrying over to game 2, they're benefiting off of it. Cool has the Zoe now available to him. Gimgoon on the Jax is able to create his own plays. We'll have to see if this is one the proper. He's surrounded.
That's the counter-strike. Mole manages to get one dash, a flash, and there's the leap strike. Gimgoon is out of there. Denied.
That information, he knows the 3 people at top, but you can't do anything off of it because your own 3 members are back at base.
Yeah,
so
recalling.
That's just Jax extending himself a little bit too far forward. Something you have to watch out for, knowing that the rest of the team are back at base.
Yeah, just Jax things. Overextending, 3 people gank, you get away. What does the rest of the team get? A recall. The life of Gimgoon summed up in just a few seconds.
I feel like his timing, this comes back to a main problem with Gimgoon, is that he does end up playing split push champions. Fiora was a big one for him last split, and the issue with his split push champions is that his timings were off. He would move in, play aggressively when the rest of the map weren't ready. They weren't in position for a Baron, or they weren't in position to take a tower, so then why would he push up forward? These are crucial points of why you shouldn't play like a Fiora, anything split push heavy, playing more team fights if you can't get that down. It's one small example. I think he's gotten better at that. We'll have to see as the game goes on.
So far, he's been able to hold his own. 1-1 and 0. Now back to even in CS with Amazing J. And of course, he is on that Jax, capable of becoming a true terror into the late game. But he needs to make it to that point first. We've seen Flandre on that same champion able to have great effect. But Amazing J is not going to give it up quite so easily. And still, we're seeing BLG play towards the top side of the map more often than not to enable Amazing J and perhaps to try and slow down Gimgoon. They're just not succeeding. And that does mean the bottom side of the map isn't really working out for them. Jin Zhao, he's, what is that, 30 CS down right now against LWX?
Yeah, even though the early skirmishes started working out in their favor throughout their entire lane, the ones who've been farming out have been LWX and Chris. So that's interesting to see. And you're right about the fact that playing towards topside hasn't been helping them, and it's a lot of it coming down to Gimgoon picking the proper counter pick here. So it's a game where he had the opportunity to do so. Picking up Jax makes it super hard for BLG to actually get a playoff in the top lane. They've tried numerous times. And at the result of it, it's just one kill for the Jax, and he's been keeping up in CS consistently. So
then what are we looking for BLG to try and stem this? Do they turn their attention instead to Jin Zhao and Road in the bottom lane and try to shut down LWX and Crisp, or do they just keep throwing themselves at top to stall that Jax?
You should throw the support, who's named Road, to the mid lane, actually. Mole's been farming up super well for himself. One kill into the game, has his Phantom Dancer. At this point in time, he's incredibly strong, and he's just waiting for someone to set up a play for him. Incredibly easy if your support has the flash enabled. So flash, recon ultimate, it's just easy to get on towards Zoe. That's what we're waiting for. And I think that as long as they create the vision path from bot to mid, you can do it.
Gimgoon actually having a near perfect read on the hitbox for that counter-strike, is able to trade back with Amazing J, and you're starting to see some of the threat that this Jax is having later on as the wave pushes back. But the top where tier 1 was taken, Gimgoon is pushed forward. Chieftain is still just hanging out with Mole in the mid lane, trying to perhaps unlock Mole or break down a turret, but he is unsuccessful so far.
Trying to find a crack in the defense. It's unfortunate that Cool has Ghosts now in his W. So even if they were to find anything here, he's going to be able to flash out, run the heck away. So right now, Cool's got himself a pretty good RNG on that.
I feel like Cool is even trying to play the emotional game against Mole here by portal jumping just for the Spell Thieves. There's the Ghost that you just mentioned, another portal jump. As the Sleepy Trouble Bubble is absorbed by Spell Shield. Amazing J is there, but so too is Crisp. So nothing really happens. That means Jin Zhao is all by his lonesome in the bottom lane against LWX. He's still 30 CS down, has not completed an item yet, and is probably looking for an opportunity to recall soon, but this is a bit risky.
Waiting for him to use his ultimate here. Here we
go.
Oh,
there's the submarine, I suppose the battleship. Flash! Shadow Dash, good snare, but he still dies to LWX. Chieftain goes in, along with Road, looking for a follow-up kill. Even the teleport from Amazing J, but Gimgoon is set to follow it. Amazing J decides to just use the tactical sweep. Now, Mole is on the far side of this. He's looking for an opportunity and a way in. Gets the knock up onto Gimgoon. Mole goes forward. He uses an early cleanse. Here comes Cool. The fight breaks out. A big knock up as the AoE gets spread across. They manage to trade kills, but it's all chaos as Mole is chasing Crisp down. Misses the Steel Tempest. Tries to dodge it back around, but Cool's doing some work. It's mono-e-mono. The support is getting in there. The perfect timing. Mole looking for it. He gets a triumph. Going for another. Chases it down. Sad face. Cool as Mole gets the outplay.
Cool had to play that one creatively. Didn't have any mana involved, so he was trying to get his passive getting in there for just a little bit of the bot. Didn't happen. Mole has that power, was able to take control of the fight, double kill for himself.
Mole keeping us on the edge of our seat, dodging around all of those dangerous Zoe skill shots, even keeping an eye on Crisp for when he rejoins the fight. Finally, the mid-tier 1 is going to be broken. Finally, this Yasuo is going to be unlocked from his lane. And now 20 minutes in, it's FPX's play that gets turned onto its head. That is going to give momentum to BLG.
It was a good start for FPX. Recognize that Xayah was alone in the bottom lane and had to get saved here. Late TPs coming through from BLG, but the most crucial part about this is where Yasuo is coming from, because that gives them confidence to all in engage. Amazing J gets the small knockup. You know, he doesn't follow up on it. Mole decides to create his own opportunity. 3-man knockup, and that essentially wins the fight for BLG.
And then the chase down from Mole as he looks for Crisp, misses a few shots. Meanwhile, Gimgoon dies under the turret. That triumph gives health back to Mole. There he goes. That's the triumph and the chase down as Crisp steps forward and an easy reset from Mole. But finally, the mid-tier 1 is down off the back of that Cloud Dragon, now being taken by BLG. And though they're still down about 800 gold, they've got a little bit more tempo to get back into this game.
And the timing around that, 20 minutes in the game for this fight to happen, mid lane tower being taken down means that BLG can now start looking towards top side a little bit more. Remember, sure, Jax cleared out this wave in the tower, but once they actually put their dual lane mid lane, it's a lot more difficult for Jax to have ground there. So he's going to have to get out of there. Unless if he stays long enough to get collapsed on. That seems to be the case.
Yeah, Flash Quickness is ready for Road. Gimgoon using that leap strike. They are running for him. Road has found it. Is he calling for his team? That's the quickness. Grand entrance, last breath. Good counter strike, but BLG, they're throwing everything and the kitchen sink. Gimgoon shows up. Crisp tries to save him. Gimgoon, I cannot believe it. Crisp is the one who's actually going to escape with his life, as Gimgoon is going to lead them on a merry chase. Look at the time that he's wasting, though. Zoe is pushing bottom, and already Jin Zhao has got to back away from that mid-tier 1 as it's broken down by LWX.
But they pushed them so far away from the Baron that BLG can just go for it.
That's not exactly a great place to be, and that's exactly what BLG are doing. Turning onto this Baron, FPX has got the Mountain Dragon buff, but they have no idea that this is happening. Finally, Blue Trinket at maximum range will spot it over the wall, but they're so far away from this. The Baron gets taken by BLG 21.5 minutes in.
See how heavy that punishment was? Gimgoon started that. Topside pushing one wave further than he should have, gets collapsed, and it was just a chase because Chris tried to help him, and you know what? Saved his life. But he was pushed so far away from the Baron, and BLG were just right there. A team that is famous for their Barons runs, they get it. So BLG, one opportunity, found it, gets the Baron for themselves, massive advantage.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I have never done that in the history of playing League of Legends. I've never overextended one extra wave and then get caught out by a gank. That never has happened, right, guys?
Definitely not in your last
I'm sure that hasn't happened to anyone else in watching this game either. That's A unique experience exclusive to this game right here. Don't look at me like that. All right, BLG, they've got the Baron. Now they're starting to try and break this game open. They've already taken the top tier 1. They've got Amazing J using a massive wave to break down the bottom tier 1. They've already set up triangle vision between mid and bottom tier 2s and are going to start maneuvering back and forth. That said, it's going to be a bit more difficult with Zoe blocking off corridors like this.
And a really strong control ward that they placed in between bottom lane to mid lane. So honestly, this team, if they get this tower and are not engaged on, they can move towards the mid lane tower, but they're holding their ground.
Oh, they're actually forcing the fight, diving in. They've caught LWX. He's healed, but dies. Glacial Storm finds Crisp in the front. Grimgoon taking as best he can, leaps away along with Crisp. But BLG, no hesitation. They know there's no AD carry. The Zoe damages burst, not sustained. Stand United for a shield, but the inhibitor being broken down as BLG see an opening and jab forward into FPX's base.
Rhodes recon this game. Some kind of beautiful. Just finding that one engage to push forward. You could see that they set up really well for the opportunity to run mid lane if things are going well, but then throw the calculations out there when one person presents themselves. LWX dies throughout all of that.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
What are you doing, buddy?
Gimgoon's got the Triforce. There's the paranoia. Caught on the Counter-Strike Hextech ultimatum, but a spell shield denies the knockback. And that was as clean and easy as it could be. FPX read the play and deny it.
Look at the mini-map. The rest of BLG were just coming onto the map. Ain't nowhere near him. Why is he pushing out that far? These are questions you have to ask your top laner.
He teleported for that, by the way. He recalled with his team, teleported to push the wave in before they were back on the map.
Every single one of you out there, when you get in solo queue, if your top laner does that, question mark ping them. I implore you, please do it.
But that's never happened to anyone else before, pushing one extra wave and then dying as the enemy team
You're doubling down
collapses.
on this, aren't you?
That has never happened before. I mean, it happened earlier in this game, but before that, that has never happened. Now BLG are going to try and siege again. Amazing Day's back up. All right, Mole, calm down. Calm down. Calm down. There he goes. He didn't even use the Q when it spawned. Didn't even use the Steel Tempest. Went for the auto attack first. Unforgivable. All right, now they're going to try and siege with the remaining 20 seconds on this Baron. It's a small minion wave, but it's enough to break it down. The mid-tier 2 is still standing, which gives a bastion for Cool to fire these shots across from, unless they engage on him.
Look, you know what's going to happen because Yasuo has GA and Sterix gauge. He literally just wants to dive in. He has the resistances to do so.
The next wave crashes in, Baron buff falls off, and it's cleared out by LWX. Sleepy Trouble Bubble is eaten.
Where's Jax? Why is Jax just sitting there?
He's never done this before. He's never gone for a side wave. Yeah, I don't know. He's got teleport. Maybe he's looking for a teleport flank. There's one at the red buff that he could try to get to. That's the late recall, but the mid-tier 2 was broken down in the meanwhile. And super minions are going to start pushing in from the bottom lane. So he is buying time for the inevitable defense. As, ooh, that one's going to hurt. There's the push onto the turret, wind wall plus flash shadow dash. That's the counter strike. Gimgoon goes in, Stand United gets knocked up, locked up, dodges as best he can, but dies. It's Road traded for Gimgoon. Chris misses his shadow dash and gets absolutely annihilated.
Oh.
Mole with the 3-man knockup. Doesn't even need to use the last breath as BLG find the fight, drop the emotes on the ace, and turn towards the inhibitor turret.
And they got their wave here. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but you could see the desperation of the FPX. Gimgoon had to do something to join the fight. He did. It was just unfortunate that Mole played it that well. Tower aggro being juggled constantly. So BLG in a clean 2-0 victory hasn't happened in some time.
And that's just it. They turn onto the Nexus turrets and break it down, proving their superiority over FPX and winning this series 2-0.
There we go. Honestly, breath of fresh air for the team to cut the difference to 4th place to 1 series. Of course, it's all on Suning Gaming. They have to make some real trip-ups. You can see the faces in FPX as they now have a harder run to get into that 4th place position. This matters. 7 weeks into this. Week 10 is the deadline. These teams have to be able to make it.
Only 4 weeks left before the gates close. And BLG prove themselves to be worthy of the gatekeepers of FPX, taking this 2-0 victory. Amazing J stepping forward with his team. They take a bow in front of the crowd and make their way back because this was a strong performance. Like you said, their first 2-0 in a long time. This was a confidence builder for this team. Something that they absolutely need to take forward, considering they have 3 massive powerhouses in their conference that they need to take wins off of if they want to try to pass Suning and LGD. It's IG, RNG, and JD who are the top 3 favorites in that conference. And if BLG won 4th, it's going to be real tough.
Yeah, I mean, that's something they expected when they moved over to the Eastern Conference from the West. For them in the Western Conference, easy runnings, right? Once they got traded with Rogue Warriors, they knew they had a battle ahead of them. They've been fighting. It's been a tough fight. But now going back into their own conference, when that does end up happening next week, it's going to be fun to see how BLG have grown, because this has been a fun set. Remember, Game 1, Mole got MVP. Game 2, very likely Mole gets second MVP. He's been the key for this team in the early portions of the game.
And look at that, BLG's hand, sorry, Amazing J's hands are shaking after that victory, 2-0. He knows how important that was. We speak about emotional players so often, but Amazing J, some of his shot calling and shouting has rocked the Shanghai arena, and it seems like he might get the opportunity to do it yet again if he has more performances like that.
Yeah, and I mean, the key here, not only was it Mole, but the fact that he gets the Camille once again. When they're at their highest, it's because he's able to flank, deal the damage himself. Crucial. We haven't gotten to see much the Camille because it has such rough lane matchups versus Mundo. But with a lot of the sustain getting nerfed out top side of the map, matchups getting changed up, and for Gimgoon specifically, blind picking the Gangplank, you get the easy Camille pick going into game 2. Sure, he blind picked the Camille, and you see the Jax matchup. It's going to be tough for him in that specific matchup, but Amazing J has never cared about the matchups before. Amazing J is a man who cares about, can I leave the lane and impact team fights? Yes. Then let me make magic happen.
And that's what we saw, pushing those side lanes, keeping Jax busy, and then trusting for his team to collapse in those mid-game fights on Gimgoon whenever he would overextend for those waves. Not that that's ever happened before, but still, the constant chase and trust in his team in that top lane to know, hey, I will get pushed in later, but I trust on you guys to take turrets, take fights later on, and turn it around.
Yeah, that trust came through. I love the fact that he was roaming quite consistently. Same with Rhodes, so hopefully we get to see a lot more of that in the future sets.
Yeah, we'll absolutely be keeping our eyes on it. But now it's time to hear from our analysts on that Bilibili Gaming win.
Cheers, Dom. And I feel like every single time that my faith wavers in BLG, they do something like that. You know, I was just like, I was probably going to be like a 2-1 or maybe like a 2-0 to FPX today. And then it's just like, and then Mole, one of the players who is really struggling in the last couple of games, just does that twice.
Yeah, but Mole also had like a really rough first part of that game. I don't know.
It's only about the team fights. Don't talk anymore for us.
I feel like
if
it's BLG, you look at the fact that they're playing FPX, and FPX just, they have no idea where they're strong, how they're strong, where to execute onto the map. It seems like there's no coordination, no communication, no synergy. I think that was the first time that I've ever seen a Zoe not take first tower in the mid tower and actually lose to the Yasuo. Now, it did come off the back of a very impressive mechanical outplay by Mole on the Yasuo, which then led to tempo advantage back to BLG, and they forced the tower down. But my bigger problem is, why aren't they focusing mid lane? Why don't you see the Zoe? And I'm not saying you have to gank for the Zoe, but, you know, Nocturne Zoe, you can definitely gank for that. But just set up a security blanket. Camp Cool's lane, sit in the bushes, pull Gimgoon down from topside, have him sit in the top side of the brush, and force mid tower down. These are types of plays that FPX just don't even know exist.
So let's diagnose this once again, talking about FPX, because you're talking about like specifically their composition in that first game. Do you think that they had the tools in the second game, but then just like, I don't know, just played incorrectly, itemized incorrectly?
Yeah, that's exactly it, Pulse. Yeah, they had the Shin. They absolutely dominated the bottom lane, just were dunking on Road and Jin Zhao down there. But, oh my god, like, some of these item choices, talking to Rusty backstage, that was a full 80 composition that BLG were running, and you didn't have a GA on Nocturne. You had second item Banshee Veil coming out. Like, where's your armor? What happens? Like, that actually blows my mind that they itemized so incorrectly for those team fights, and then ultimately lost them. And then the huge misplay in the Yasuo jungle, because I like the fact that they kept throwing things bottom, that they were cracking open the bottom lane and then overextending, and everything just went sideways. Yeah, pretty much. And it starts with this, because it's like, okay, great, we look for the pick into bot side, then we heavy commit onto it, and then it just kind of becomes a bit of a mess from here on out. Yeah, and a lot of mechanical misplays, and it's not even the mechanical misplays here. Once Gimgoon joins the team and they get chased over near the blast cone, this is where everything goes to hell in a handbasket. no one plays around the blast cone. No one is trying to grab vision. The target selection is atrocious from FPX. Gimgoon in particular chasing the wrong targets instead of just falling back to his team and assisting. Cool has no mana here, which is why Mole knows that I can just punch this guy repeatedly in the face.
Yeah,
and then Chris was like, I'm here to help. Never mind. I didn't use any of my abilities to assist you.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. Also because he got a bunch of health back at the end there as well on that Yasuo. But like leading up to that point, I actually thought that Chris did play pretty well individually. But then you're following Mole around at the end. Yeah, absolutely not. But yeah, following Mole around that fight, his position was really strong, and it feels like again in those clutch situations, mirroring maybe what he got from AJ. It seems like he just turns up in those fights.
Yeah, but the thing is that if BLG don't win that fight there, they probably don't win the game. I mean, yeah, FPX then still continued to make very strange decisions making over the course of the game, but that was like the huge snowball watershed moment, and it's consistently happening to them where these moments aren't breaking open, and FPX are now falling further and further down in the standings, and frankly, so is my confidence in the Western Conference. Is anyone worth anything over there?
Yeah, that's a difficult question, to be honest. I mean, there's some teams that are performing well, but like when you see performances like that at the end of the day from FPX, I think you're totally right. It feels just like FPX, they have all of the ingredients. Like they went to IKEA, they got a bunch of furniture, but they just don't know how to assemble it.
To IKEA.
Where should they have gone for us?
I don't know. Get some real furniture that's not some cardboard and screws. And they have real furniture that aren't cardboard and screws. You have someone like LWX who has a legacy behind him. Gimgoon from Zenix Storm all the way back, who's been in the LPL multiple times. And Cool. Chris, also a very solid performer. There's no reason that FPX, like, you look at that roster, there's not a lot of upgrades that you can make. Like, if you trade pieces around in the LPL and FPX immediately get better because they do have good talent. This is literally a communication, a coaching, a drafting. This is happening at the top level this team is not being able to assemble.
I will say the other thing about FPX is they definitely have their own quirks. If you look at them from player to player, because Gimgoon has very specific champions that he plays. Like, he's the OG Kled in the top lane. You look towards LWX. We literally call the AD carry of the team the shotgun, right? Like, he has such a different playstyle from other people, and I feel like the fact that he can play things like Swain, when we saw him on the carpets, I was like, this is perfect. You just run in and die, and he's still helping, you know what I mean? Like, there are picks for LWX to do well, but they will have these quirks. It feels like if they just assemble their compositions and they assemble their playstyle based around this as accents to what could be a strong composition, then that should be like that's the cherry on top. So they're like, there's extra things that you can do, but it just feels like they haven't done step one yet, and that seems to be my problem when I'm watching their games.
When I watch their games, I do a lot of VOD review with them, and I want viewers at home to pay attention to this. Watch what happens when Cool makes a call, and it's really obvious when Cool makes a call because the mini-map will light up with multiple pings, and it'll be things like, their mid laner has backed and doesn't have TP. We have pressure here. We can take the mid tower. This has happened multiple times. And he'll ping Gimgoon up into the top side, and then he'll ping mid, and then he'll ping Gimgoon again, and he'll ping mid, assist me. And Gimgoon will be about 45 seconds late to that rotation, and it doesn't seem like a big thing, but this is why FPX are sitting bottom tier. Like, their calls are just so delayed. And I don't know if it's a language barrier, which it shouldn't be because Gimgoon's been in the LPL forever, or if it is simply like what I call muddy comms when I used to coach with teams that improper information is being thrown around or what have you. But this is happening on a communication team synergy level, in my opinion, of what's going on with FPX.
And it's interesting you say it's just like it may not seem like a big thing, but 45 seconds when we call League of Legends like a game of nanoseconds, it's a lot of nanoseconds, you know what I mean? 45 seconds. Regardless, so let's go ahead and take a look at that final fight that happened in top lane. It's basically the one that ended it here. And once again, we can just highlight some of the big plays coming out from BLG, but the fact that like it does come to itemization here, like I believe Rusty's quote was, if Nocturne buys a GA and then Jax gets a GA third, it would just be moreover. But like, it's just, the itemization at this point was too far gone. They were too far gone in this series and in this game. BLG just simply run them over.
It's also the fact that BLG just know what they're good at. They're almost the epitome of FPX, and that they know exactly what their strengths and their weaknesses are, and they just play to their strengths and band-aid over their weaknesses. Where if FPX are still kind of going through that identity crisis of who are they, what are they bad at, what are they good at.
Really, very much the case. And then if we look at Mole, once again, finding 2 MVPs in this set, really been stepping it up in the mid lane. And just, again, when I say stepping up, I mean literally within the course of like 2-3 days. You know, since the last time we saw him in the last couple of sets, like this has been a pretty rough ride for them in the last 4 sets alone, facing like EDG, then Rogue Warriors, okay, OMG, but they're a bit of a wild card. Then you follow up against a team like FPX, and it's just like, well, yes, FPX have identity issues, but at the same time, FPX can just sucker punch you in the face and just drop you. You know what I mean? Like they will play consistent within their inconsistencies to a point where they can drop a team like RNG.
I mean, yeah, they took down RNG, but if you go back and look at what FPX have been doing, it's not a lot, pulls.
No,
There's
it
not
isn't.
a lot of punches landing.
No. It's true. To be honest, I feel like they just hold out their arm and then some teams just
Someone
walk
just
into
runs
it.
into
Yeah.
it.
I think that's what RNG did, to be honest, in their set anyways. But now that we are going to take a short break. When we get back, we'll be coming with our second game and our final series in Shanghai right after this.
登峰造极，方可声名远扬。侠盗勇士自在威震四方。